Welcome in, people, to the Rantings of a Fantasy Football Fanatic. I am your host, Jesse Mueller, aka J Mueller05, and this week we're talking about what everybody's talking about: Scott Fishbowl, baby. It's a few days away. We already have live drafts kicking off, and we are getting as prepared as we can because Monday morning, bright and early, West Coast time, my time, we're gonna be going in. I wanted to do the special edition because I have a special guest that I wanted to bring in, who actually published a guide, which I found pretty helpful. So I figured we could have him come onto the show and talk about the guide and how it impacts Scott Fishbowl and all of that. So I would like to welcome Mr. DynastyBuff. So, hey, Mr. DynastyBuffs, how you doing?
What's up, YouTube? It's DynastyBuffs. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on the show, Jesse. I'm really excited. Got this guide out. Busting my butt trying to get this thing out for everybody. Really excited.
Yeah, that's always the toughest part where you're trying to like cram stuff in at the last minute, and it's just like you forget how like stressful it is. But yeah, man, I was really excited.
Dynasty Pros, thanks for hooking me up. Thanks for helping me with my editing. Thanks for letting me use my guide and post it on the website.
Yeah. So we'll link the guide in the description in the comments. So people, whoever needs to find it, they can find it. We'll post it on Twitter so people will find it that way as well. It's a really cool guide. And for those of you who don't know about Scott Fishbowl, if you're on this page, I don't know how you don't, but just in case you don't, it's literally the world's biggest tournament. Like there's basically in person.
3,300 people, man.
It's a ton of people, and half of the people get into the playoffs. So realistically, as long as you don't tank, you have a decent shot of making the playoffs. So yeah, we all know you can hit or miss. It's a lot of fun. It's 12 teams.
Everything.
Yeah, it's just a blast. So if you want, let's just dive right into your guide and talk about it. So what was the reason you decided to create this guide? Like what was the brainstorm idea? You're like, you know what? I got this brilliant idea to help people out for Scott Fishbowl.
All right, so this is the first year that I'm actually in the Scott Fishbowl. And every year, so I've been playing fantasy football for about 20 years now. So I started when I was like 5 years old. Little spoiler how old I am. So I've been doing it for a long time, and I've been playing Dynasty since 2020. And this first year, me being the Scott Fishbowl, I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can try to win this thing. So I'm going to do my own projections for 2023 and create the fantasy points per game and then convert that in with using the Scott's Fishbowls format. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a guide. I'm going to create a guide for myself to understand this format and everybody else in the industry because this is wacky. It's really fun, really interesting. How Scott Fishbowl changes the format every year and surprises people. So if we look at my guide, I start off with a little introduction. I go through the rules of Scott Fishbowl. We see quarterbacks get a huge boost in this format compared to a regular full PPR. It's about like a 11 to 12 point increase on a points per game basis. So, for example, say Pat Mahomes gets you 25 a week. This format, he's going to get you 37. Mm-hmm. And the running backs as well, they get a bunch of bonuses. They get per touch bonus. They get the receiving bonuses. They get the first down bonuses. And the wide receivers, it kind of just got left in the dust, in my opinion. The tight ends, though, man, the tight ends are a glitch. Travis Kelce is the biggest glitch I've ever seen in any format ever. The dude gets numbers. Just for getting a 10-yard catch from Mahomes, he gets 5 points.
Yeah, he's an absolute cheat code. It's ridiculous. It's like he's the top 4 locked in pick, and no surprise because the difference maker that Travis Kelce is, like, there is not a bigger difference maker for any fantasy team, specifically because of all of the bonuses in this format.
Yeah.
Like, I know in regular redraft leagues, people are talking about taking Kelce 101. Like, I get it. I understand it. He's a huge bonus in that format. Basically, multiply that by 3. That's what we're talking about. Like, that's the edge you get with Travis Kelce. He's just It's unbelievable. It's just not even fair. So I think it's because it's super flex, it makes it a little bit more interesting, right? Like if you pass on those elite quarterbacks early, you take Kelsey, then you almost have to take a quarterback when it comes around to 212. But or 210 through 212. It kind of tinkers with strategy a little bit, which I think makes Scott Fishbowl so fun. And that's where something like where your guide comes in to help people fully comprehend and understand, because it is complex. People do get confused. I don't blame them, specifically like for first year people who have never done this before. It's a unique scoring format, right? Exactly. So you want to help people where they're like, hey, like I don't fully get what's going on.
Yeah, because even if you've been playing dynasty or fantasy football for a long time, you're so used to doing full PPR now. Like the past 5 years, it's been full PPR. Before that, it was like half, and then before that, it was just standard.
Yeah.
So this is an entirely new format for myself and anybody that's like doing any type of new league. But yeah, the easiest way we could think about this, and I know some guys don't even do dynasty, right? But this is a 12 team super flex league, full PPR with a ton of bonuses towards running backs and tight ends, and a little bit with the kickers.
Yeah. And the wide receivers kind of get left out a little bit just based on, they try to even it out. And I think it's very interesting with how wide receiver heavy everyone's going. This is basically the opposite of that draft, right? Because you have people who are talking about just going like hero RB and just hammer wide receivers. In this format, I wouldn't recommend it myself. But and as your guide points out, like they're just not scoring enough points. If you're taking those wide receivers early, you need to hit on like the wide receiver 1 or 2. And the odds of that happening are going to be very difficult. So
and they have to break numbers to make up for where they're going compared to the other guys. So like Jefferson and Chase, right now have been going in the first round of based on ADP, and they have to put up like elite, almost Hall of Fame type numbers to compete with some of those quarterbacks, just at the top, or even some of the running backs and Kelsey.
Yeah, you need a Cooper Cup 2021 season basically from them is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and it's possible. The odds of it happening are very slim, just because everything has a break right for them, right?
Yes.
If maybe the defense has a sluffer, like they're going to pass more, all those sorts of things, right? And you have Jefferson's getting the addition of Addison. Chase still has Higgins, like he's still a very good wide receiver, so it just makes it tough on those guys. So yeah, I'm not 100% like in on taking them in round 1. Now I am more interested in Cooper Cup because he falls later. Like I've seen him go in like the late 2nd, early 3rd of Scott Fishbowl.
Yeah,
and at that cost, I'm team old guy, so I don't mind taking somebody like that. But overall, I'm 100% with you. Like just hammer running backs, quarterbacks early. If you get Kelsey, you're just living the dream. So yeah, that's
and the bottom section is the overall strategy. So I break it down into rounds of what I would do. So for spoilers, I'm pick 10. I'm in the Cheetos League. If you're in the Cheetos League, don't watch this.
Yeah, for all my Dutch bros, people in that division, yeah, you just go ahead and just not watch this. I'm pick 12, but realistically, I'm going to be live streaming. I don't even care. If you're going to beat me. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. So what I would do is, since I'm pick 10, and here's what I would do. I would take quarterback first. Usually, give me a chance of getting Herbert or Lawrence based on the numbers. They're tier 2 quarterbacks, and then on the turnaround, I'll probably take Eckler, Bijan, Barkley, Jacobs, and then Derrick Henry. And then the interesting thing about this one as well is that it's also a 3rd round reversal draft. So that's a new addition as well to a lot of spaces. I've been doing it in Dynasty for a while, but 3rd round reversal, basically, if you're picks one, if you're pick 12, you get the 112, 201, and 301.
Yeah, it saves your bacon in this because those early guys are such an edge. Like if we didn't have 3rd round reversal, it would be a lot harder to make up those points. But we're talking about, you can see a Derrick Henry fall in that range. Sometimes a Dak Prescott, Tua Tagovailoa, maybe Mark Andrews falls in that range. So you get these truly elite like difference makers that you can hit in the 3-1.
I get quarterback, running back, or flip those depending on the numbers, depending on who's there. And then third round reversal, I would look at getting a tight end. one of those tier 2 tight ends. So if I could get like Hawkinson or Waller, Kittle, or even Pitts with serious upside, you could go with. Or I've seen some quarterbacks also go in the 3rd round too. You consider taking one of them as well.
So who's your top of those like tier 2 tight ends? Is Hawkinson your guy that you're preferring of that group of guys?
So personally, you have the numbers and then you have my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm the biggest Kyle Pitts fan, and I don't care. I love Kyle Pitts. He's one of my favorite players. I have his jersey. I'm a Kyle Pitts fanboy.
You're preaching to the choir.
He's not even tier 2 based on the projections and numbers. But I would take him at pick 3. I would take him in the 3rd round.
I mean, sometimes you gotta shoot your shot, right? And it's a giant tournament, so it's like, you know what? Why not go get your guy? You're playing against 3,300 people, right? The odds of you winning it's difficult.
He's the best receiver on the Falcons. I'm also a huge Drake London fan, but Kyle Pitts is something else. Arthur Smith, terrible, but Kyle Pitts, truly elite wide receiver with the tight end position name.
This is a funny story about Arthur Smith. After week 5, and Pitts had like a 60% route run game, I went off. I just went on a rant on TikTok. I was like, I can't take this Arthur Smith nonsense anymore. Like, he runs a good offense and they score points and stuff like that, but it's a killer for fantasy. It's just, I can't. It drives me crazy. Okay? It drives me crazy.
I don't even know if he runs a good team.
Yeah, I mean, it's an efficient offense. It's just, it sucks. Like, literally is the opposite that you want for fantasy, because you don't want run heavy where guys have to be super efficient, which the Falcons, that's what it's going to have to be, because they have that elite talent in the 3 spots. But man, yeah, it's super frustrating. Like, I can't stand Arthur Smith. He drives me up a wall.
Yeah, I'm in a 32 team league, and
me too.
There's some that you can just do just the drafts, but then they have these other 32 teams league where you just take over a team and then you manage it. So I took over the Falcons and I tanked, and then I took Bryce Young because I was like, I'm gonna do it right. I'm gonna show you guys how it's done.
Right, what they should have done. Yeah, instead of I get it. It's just drafting a tight end that early is just, that's a mystery in itself. But yeah, that's here for another day, I guess.
Back to your question. Yeah. I would take Kyle Pitts, but yes, you could take Hawkinson. I do like Hawkinson. You can also take Kittle, because if Brock Purdy does play and he is a starting quarterback, I just think Kittle's going to get fed, because if you watch Purdy's film, the kid he just throws it in the middle. And who knows, he might change, but I think Kittle will be his number 1 guy. And even if Lance plays as well, those two have developed another connection. So I am in on George Kittle as well. But for me, I'll go with Kyle Pitts. Take the upside.
Yeah, for sure. So it's interesting. Like, if you look at how ADP is structuring around the tournament, you got Hawkinson around 3. And this is going for 2 ADP. If anybody wants to look at it, they do really good information with ADP. Hawkinson's round 3. Goddard and Pitts are both round 4. And then Waller's round 5. So it gets, if you want to wait, just because people are like, he was injured, he's old, he's going to get that discount. So if you want to wait and just take the guy that, you don't really care, you can get Waller later than all of them. So if you want to just wait, you can go that route. But hey, if you want to get your guy, sometimes you might have to reach for Hawkinson. 4th round, like Pitts, you just got to grab him sometimes. So that's where it comes down to. If you want to really get your guy, or play the tier system too, because that goes into it, and that doesn't always work. All right, so let's and then when you get to the later rounds, because you're talking about, basically, I haven't really heard you pumping up any wide receivers yet. So where are you targeting wide receivers?
Okay, so even in the guide, I mentioned, shoot for top 12 upside. So if we pull up the data in the spreadsheet, again, you have your elite tier 1 guys, Jefferson, Chase, I believe Cup is also in there, and one other person.
Yeah. So you have Hill up there as well. It looks like
Tyreek Hill. And then we have our tier 2 guys.
Okay.
Starting with let me see. Let me pull it up.
So what I'm looking at is you have after Tyreek Hill, you have Devontae Adams,
Yep.
CeeDee
So
Lamb, those guys. Yeah.
I have Jefferson, Cup, Chase, Hill, Adams, all in tier 1.
Mm-hmm.
Lamb, because that's where the drop off happens.
Yep.
So we go from 23 with the standard deviation of like 2 to 21 to 19
Mm-hmm.
on a points per game basis in the Scott Fishbowl.
And
So
that's a
CD
giant cluster.
Diggs,
It looks like, yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown are tier 2, and those are the last guys that you should consider as elite. And then after that, they're all pretty much within 2 points with each other between Debo all the way to Marquise Brown.
Yeah, like you're getting Tyler Lockett's like the guy where
Yep.
it jumps down to 15, but that's a giant.
Out of this
cluster of
range
guys.
here, I would just shoot for top 10 upside. So like some guys that I would like that I think are top 5 maybe. I think Waddle has a chance this year. Garrett Wilson, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Calvin Ridley. You could take a shot at DJ Moore late as well. Jerry Jeudy might be appealing. Those guys, I think, are all wide receiver 1s.
Okay.
Obviously, yeah, there's some guys that are not wide receiver. Like Jalen Waddle's a wide receiver 2 on the team, but I think he has wide receiver 1 upside. There's AJ Brown there as well. He's already a wide receiver 1. He has upside as well. But if you want to get guys late because those other guys are going earlier, I think Jeudy would be appealing. DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley, and I've seen those guys goes in like round 5, 6.
Sometimes they even slide a little bit later than that too. But yeah, they're out of those top 4 rounds for sure.
And maybe if you like old guys that do produce, right? Keenan Allen's also an appealing option. When he's healthy, he's pretty solid. Does he have 1 year left in him? He might.
His last 3 years of like Scott Fishbowl scoring have been almost identical. Like he's been right around 20 points per game the last 3 years, just straight shot. Like what you're getting as long as he plays. Obviously, there's injury concerns because he's older and stuff like that. Yes. But his per game numbers were pretty good last year. So yeah, if you want to push it and go later, like I'm fully on board with taking the old guys. And my team will probably end up with a lot of old guys just because they get devalued. That's just kind of how it goes. So it will be no surprise to see those guys on my team.
Yeah, I'd even take shots, guys, like even later in rounds too. Like, I mean, you could take a shot at Pittman late. You could take shots on Burks. Maybe DJ Chark super late in the draft if you want.
Yeah, you're getting with DJ Chark, you're getting real into the weeds. So if you view him as having that upside at all, like then he's the type of late round player you're gonna want to target.
Maybe OBJ can be appealing for maybe some spike weeks.
Yeah, I think there's a couple interesting names here. There's like Rondale Moore jumps out and Darnell Mooney, guys that are kind of getting forgotten about, where you're going to be able to flex them and play them, and they'll be going much later in the draft. So those are 2 names to highlight as well, I think.
Yeah, Juju Smith-Schuster is another one. Obviously, the injury concerns, but I also know New England also re-signed Devontae Parker. I mean, Mac Jones is getting a new offensive coordinator.
Yes, thankfully.
He will be in a new type of system. Do we know who's going to be the wide receiver 1? Maybe it's Mike Gesicki. Joke's on us. Who knows?
Yeah,
but he's got to throw the ball at somebody.
There's been a ton of hype about them using Gesicki, the 2 tight end set. So and by the way, this is tight end premium scoring. So if you want to take a flyer on a guy that could be a top 2 pass catcher on their offense, like Mike Gesicki is one of those guys. As gross as it sounds, like he's still an athletic freak. So maybe Bill Belichick can unlock him finally one of these years. Yeah. Who are some of your more, speaking of tight ends, let's just jump into those guys. Who are some of your more later round tight ends that you'd be targeting once you get past really the Dallas Goederts and then kind of guys you see having that upside to be difference makers for you in this format?
Let's see. So that'd be rounds like 8, maybe.
Yeah, in that range, 8 and later.
I mean, I guess you could take shots at Schultz just because Production, I think he'll be fine running, short routes with CJ Stroud. I think they'll be good friends. He's not a bad shot taken late. Everett is another one. You mentioned Gesicki. Okonkwo's another one you could take. Dulcich. So after tier 2, so it goes Kittle to Freiermuth. So Pitts, Goddard, Njoku, Ingram, Ertz. So Tyler Higbee through Logan Thomas, I have as tier 3. Then Conklin to Mayar is 4. And then Musgrave to Fortston is 5.
Yeah, and Musgrave's going super late because he's a rookie and people don't trust rookie tight ends. But what's interesting is if you look at on the screen the points per game basis for like these guys, they're kind of lower end. You're still getting like 15 points per game from Everett and 14 from like a Juwan Johnson or Kincaid and stuff like that. So they're still viable for you, even though in traditional leagues, like you're just like whatever, those guys don't matter. In this format, those guys are playable for you. You can give your points. So I think that really highlights how important the tight end scoring is.
Yeah, I mentioned too that the tight ends, even later tight ends, they still put up wide receiver like 3 to wide receiver 2 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you do a comparison with the running backs, they'll put up RB2 numbers.
Yeah.
So consider even maybe I've seen guys do 2 tight ends. So do tight end and then flex a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Maybe you can even do 3 tight ends if you get lucky. I would not be opposed to you taking good tight ends if you can.
Would you? So you would run a bully tight end like team building structure in the format?
I wouldn't mind it if so. For example, if I could get, first round, I could take a quarterback late, and then on the turnaround, I can maybe get Andrews, and then on the turnaround again, if I could get, depending on the board, and the upside is, say all the running backs are gone, and I have to pick between Alvin, Javonte, Joe Mixon, and Aaron Jones. Or maybe look at the receivers. Say all the receivers are probably gone by then. You're like, shoot, do I take another quarterback? You look at the quarterbacks. Maybe Tua's still on the board. Russell Wilson, Prescott, Gino, maybe they're on the board in the 3rd round. I've seen some of them go in the 3rd round. Maybe they're not. Depends.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be flipping between either taking, Hawkinson or taking one of the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think it gets really interesting, and this is where we're kind of like chipping away at it. Is the board is going to kind of play how you play your strategy, right? Like you can go in with the idea of like I want these elite quarterbacks or I want these elite tight ends. It might not go that way, just depending how your draft goes, because there's so many drafts. Each one is going to be different than the others. Case in point, the live Buffalo draft. Kyle Pitts went in the 3-6 at one draft and the 4-11 in another. So that's like a round and a half difference. And you'll see this in drafts. So I know we have all like the strategy we want to go, and just keep ADP in mind. Like it's going to make a massive difference on your strategy. So don't be afraid to like stray from your strategy.
ADP projections and your own intuition, I always say, is how you should draft.
100%. Like you. Oh no, you can go. Sorry.
I'll say be flexible with your draft strategy, but also be comfortable with who you're taking. I also mentioned a guy too that everybody has like 8 hours. So take your time. Don't let the dudes spam in the chat say, "Dude, where are you? Hurry up. Make your pick." Just take your time. Your time is there. Make a good informed decision. If you need to look up some information and you're not really sure about where you need to go next in your pick, it's okay. Just take your time, figure out the strategy you want to go with for the next, couple rounds.
Right.
And just see how the board goes.
Yeah, and you could. So if you really want to dive into all the ADP data, spikeweek.com is going to have all of the draft data for Scott Fishbowl. So if you want to use that when you're doing your slow drafts, use that. It will help you out. You can get a better understanding of where everyone's going. And yeah, like you're saying, you don't have to pick right away. I know it's frustrating. People get like super upset in slow drafts. If you wait 10 minutes, someone's like, you're on the clock. You're like, I know. I got 8 hours. It's fine. We'll get this picked up when we get it done, right? Exactly. Like people are working. They have lives. They have kids and families, like all this stuff, right? So you don't have to rush your pick. Only pick when you're comfortable and ready to pick. That's what the 8 hours is there for. Use as much of it or as little bit as you want. If you want to go fast, go fast. If you want to go slow, take your time. It's no big deal. That's what it's there for. Let's jump into kind of just overall strategies and talk about some different ones. I know we talked about kind of like the bully strategy. It sounds like you prefer, if you have your dream strategy, is it the elite quarterbacks, or are you going basically like robust running back kind of strategy?
So if I could, I think the right answer is best player available. Always. In this format, it could be a quarterback, it could be a running back, it could be tight end, it could be even a kicker.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, but using our ADP, we kind of are forced a little bit to have strategies. So to line up with the projections that I've done and with the strategies and the ADP, it's more than likely I'll probably have to do the elite quarterback strategy. Because the elite quarterbacks, they get numbers. Even tier 2 quarterbacks, they just put numbers up.
Mm-hmm. They really do. It's if you look at any, I think it was Billy Jones who highlighted this on Twitter. Like he showed the graph of each player scoring, and those elite QBs are just massive points per game. Like it's a huge edge, and it makes sense. So I think where we're at in kind of the draft, because we're both the back end of the draft, it makes it a little bit more interesting because we're missing out on that truly elite tier of like the high end quarterbacks.
Yes.
So it changes our structure a little bit. Because if I was going in the middle, like if I was pick 106, I'm taking a quarterback because Kelsey's going to be gone. So I would just take my top quarterback of those guys. And then hopefully another one comes back to me in the mid-second, right? But
yeah, so the guys that go first, so picks 1 through like 7, you guys have the opportunity to pick those elite quarterbacks.
Yes.
Guys towards the end of the draft, first round, we don't. We get stuck with either a tier 2 quarterback or an elite running back.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what happens with the drafts, I'll go either running back first or I'll go quarterback.
Yeah, I think it makes the most sense to go that strategy just because of who's on the board. Yes, like you gotta
points.
Mm-hmm. Like you got to. It's really hard to make up the difference. Like Kelsey and a Mahomes gives to those teams up there, so you have to find ways to do it. It's just a lot harder with those wide receivers. So that's why I know you'll see a lot of rankings where Jefferson's like a top 8 pick and stuff like that. Like I'm not gonna do it. Like I get why people chase it because you're chasing that just the monumental like Hall of Fame level season, right? But odds are that's not going to happen. Like just the median range of outcomes, that's not how it goes. So like I'll lean to basically an Eckler in that case, or if McCaffrey falls, like that's even better. But one of those two guys, or if you view Fields or Lawrence as that elite guy, then yeah, take one of those guys up there. I want to kind of touch on kickers because in your guide you talked a little bit about elite kickers and what qualifies an elite kicker in the scoring format for you, and who are those elite kickers you view as?
So the interesting thing about the kickers is they get, I believe, an extra 3.3 points for every extra point.
Yes.
So when I was running the numbers, teams that have very high scores have kickers that make a lot of extra points, making them elite fantasy kickers. So last year, I believe it was Saunders. No, Mayers, the guy from Seattle. I believe.
Yeah, it's what the heck is his name? I'm a Seattle fan. I can't remember. It's like, oh my gosh, what? I'll find it in a second. You keep talking though. What's his name?
It could be Jason Myers.
Yeah, it's Jason Myers. That's who it is. There,
Jason
thank
Myers.
you.
There's his name. Yeah. So Seattle, they were They're a playoff team last year. Did we expect them to be a playoff team? I didn't.
No, I didn't.
I wasn't a Geno. Okay, I did pick Geno over Lockett, but I didn't expect Geno to put those numbers up. I didn't think the team was gonna be good. We have Baltimore. So like basically teams you believe that are gonna go to the playoffs. I think Baltimore will make the playoffs. Cincinnati, Kansas City, the Chargers, the Giants, the Cowboys. Detroit might be sleepy, and they might be sleeper, and they might be one. Jacksonville, maybe the Vikings, the Jets, San Francisco. So those teams that put up tons of points in their offense, those kickers I would consider elite kickers.
And if you want to kind of look at a cheat code way of looking at it, just go look at projected wins losses. Those will be the teams that everyone views as like the higher end teams to start the year. Now, if you're talking about like a Seattle situation last year, you're going to have to search for the team that's going to surprise, because every year there's a team or two that surprise and that are good. So if you want to go down the bottom of the barrel, pick your poison where you're like, you know what, this team, they're going to take a jump. You can do that. It's treacherous. And then it's a little harder in this format because there's 22 draft picks. So there's not going to be all these kickers available on the waiver. So it's a little bit harder to find that kicker. You have to kind of like plant your flag on that kicker.
You could be sneaky and maybe get Chris Boswell late. I think Pittsburgh potentially could make the playoffs this year and be a decent team. But I wouldn't pick them because, I mean, I don't see them having a ton of points every game. I don't.
Right.
But they could be. They could be those ones you could get late. I would stay away from Matt Prater, Arizona kicker. I don't know if I would play Chad Ryland either from New England.
Maybe the
Chase
Saints playing a dome, so you
McLaughlin,
could. Who's the Saints kicker?
Will Lutz.
Yeah, so you could maybe shoot your shot on Will Lutz, maybe like a
Yeah.
guy like that, because kickers and domes just do better in general. So that's another little wrinkle you could put in there too.
Maybe Cleveland Kid York. I know he had a rough year last year, but I think Cleveland will be a lot better this year. He'd be also a solid pick.
Yeah, I think so. And it's the 49ers drafted the kicker. It's Moody. I think he's the rookie. He's supposed to be like the top kicker. So he's going to be a little bit lower because he's a rookie. So, and the 49ers will have a good offense. Like that's just, there's no doubt about that one. So that could be a guy you could think about tagging too, getting later than, your Tuckers or your Bats or those guys.
Yeah, and the thing to know about kickers too is as long as they're starting the entire year, they'll get you basically like 12 points a game. Which, if we look at our other formats, it'd be like a tight end 3, a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 numbers, running back, a low end RB2 with high to medium RB3. So I know some people are in the My Fantasy League, and you guys can start more than one kicker. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, you can. That's right. Yep.
So consider maybe taking a kicker in rounds like 11 and 12, and maybe depending on the board, you could maybe take one, 13, 14. If you could get Justin Tucker, or whoever your kicker 1 is, take Evan McPherson and Jake Elliott. Those guys should get you 15 points a week.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about kickers is they're very much the high floor play. Like they're not going to give you this massive ceiling. Like that's not what kickers are going to do most weeks. Like you might have one week where they go off for 20 something just so they hit a bunch of field goals, but they're very much a high floor play. So it comes into strategy if people want to give themselves a floor. And this is more for my fantasy league where you can flex like 3 extra kickers compared to sleeper where we only get the 1 kicker and we have to play the 1 kicker. It might change our strategy a little bit depending on what format you're drafting in. Let's jump into players you're targeting. that you kind of wanted to bring up. So on the slide, I got a few names. So let's talk about Dak Prescott and why you were targeting Dak Prescott.
All right. So I know Dak Prescott isn't the, elite quarterback one room, but I know he's been hated on last year. He threw the most interceptions. His passer rating was bad.
Mhm.
I myself, I'm a huge Cowboys fan. Go Cowboys. I watch Dak Prescott every week. I've watched him since he came into the league. And I know he gets a rap now. I even give him the rap if he's just Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins means that he has the upside to be, top 3, but he also can be that week maybe quarterback 20. But last year, Prescott had injuries, right? He missed 5 games. He had Cooper Rush. That was a whole thing of, oh, yeah, there's going to be quarterback controversy. Now, Prescott came back. He was better. He was consistent. This year, I think, if healthy, Dak will actually be better than he was last year. And he put up numbers last year. He put up fantasy numbers last year. If we look at the going guys at round 2, and I've seen Prescott even go to round 3, he would outscore pretty much all of them in this format. He's super underrated in the Scott Fishbowl format league. Would I take him in a full PPR Superflex league that early? Probably not. Maybe. But because the format and the Scott Fishbowl format, that value at like 210 or around like 305, I've seen him go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a no-brainer. He'll get you like 30.
Yeah, it was kind of like a storm of situations that all came together to make it worse for Dak last year. The defense was incredible. They did not have to pass a lot. They only passed at a 52% clip, which is the lowest a Mike McCarthy team has ever passed since like he's been a head coach, which is 2006. So the pass rate's going to go up. Their schedule is going to be tougher. They played the AFC South last year. Now they're playing the I can't remember off the top of my head. I said on it earlier, but they're playing a better division. So like,
Yeah,
he's likely going to have to pass more.
The Eagles are better.
Yes.
I mean, say what you want about the Commanders. They did improve. Their team did get better. I mean, I'm not sure Sam Howell can be the franchise quarterback, but the NFC East is a very good division.
Yes, it is one of the better divisions. I think
And it could be a good and bad thing because if the Giants, the Eagles, and the Commanders, they put up numbers every week, it's going to force the Cowboys to have to throw a lot more versus relying on Pollard, Malik Davis, and oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name right now. Kansas State, Deuce Vaughn.
Oh yeah. I was like, who are we talking about? Yeah, the world's smallest running back, basically. Yeah, dude. By the way, his tape's so much fun. Like, I get it, he's tiny, but goodness gracious, I wish he was a normal size running back. He would have gone first round, but that's another story.
I'm no Cowboy bias. I'm the biggest Cowboy lover and hater. I've never seen them win a championship in my lifetime, so I don't believe in we're so great in the 90s. They've never been great in my lifetime. They've only been bad, and they only just stay bad.
Yeah, that was early in my lifetime. They were good, like early. Yeah, there's all that clip of how about them Cowboys from like Jerry back in the day and Jimmy Johnson. It's like, yeah, that's a long time ago. They've just been consistently good, not great. And that's the problem. But
consistently,
y'all got it's set up. I think it's set up pretty well for them this year. Like realistically for the offense, like they're gonna be a playoff team. They're very good. Dak's got Lamb. They brought in Cooks. Gallup is finally healthy again, so like he's not great, but he's good enough. I don't know what y'all doing at tight end, but like one of those tight ends is going to get targets. Do you have an idea of which tight end that's going to be? Because nobody seems to know.
I mentioned this earlier to I don't know. I think it was I don't know who it was, somebody else. The interesting thing is Luke Schoonmaker currently has a Liz Frank injury. Luke Schoonmaker was drafted in the second round. I don't know if anybody knows that. You definitely know that.
Yeah.
Drafted in the second round. I was stunned that they took him. Heartbroken a little bit.
And he's a good blocker too. Like I don't understand the whole thought process behind it, but I guess we can run a tangent on that another day.
Jerry, this is Jerry's pick. Based on the articles I've read, Jerry said they want Schoonmaker to be Jason Witten. He's a great blocker with athleticism. Yes, he is athletic, but he is not Jason Witten. He's like a little bit slightly better athletic Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, like I don't think people realize or remember how good of an athlete Jason Witten was early on in his career. Like he was a very good athlete. It's not the old man that was broken down by injuries and stuff like that. Like he was a very good athlete, and that's not Schoonmaker. Like he's good athlete, but he's not like super elite or anything. So it's just weird to me. I'm with you. I don't understand it at all.
So based on my projections, I basically had Schoonmaker and Ferguson splitting touches or snaps. And I think Schoonmaker, I don't know the status of his Liz Frank injury. I don't know how severe or like how minor it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not practicing. He's not getting reps in right now based on current articles that I've read, which is not good for rookies that are trying to get involved in the offense that's trying to win now. Ferguson was involved with the offense last year when Schultz was injured and he was out. I think Ferguson will be the starter for the first couple of weeks, and maybe they'll start integrate Schoonmaker once he's healthy, and then maybe towards the end of the season, Schoonmaker can take over. But I'm not sure.
By the way, if you are curious when these tight ends are going in the Scott Fish Bowl draft, Ferguson's like around 18 pick, and Shoemaker's around 21 pick in the format. So if you want to take a flyer on tight end, whoever you think it's going to be, like you got a shot. So
I would probably do Schoonmaker just because they invested so much into them, and Jerry Jones has a history of using the guys that he picks. Like I always joke about, I don't know if you know who Taco is
from the league.
No, he was one of the first round picks, like back in.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah,
dude, I wanted to cry when I saw him pick. I was like, no way, we took him. Oh my, yeah, but didn't matter. Jerry would still start him saying he's our guy, and he was terrible. It happens every time when Jerry picks. Schoonmaker will get playtime because that's Jerry's guy.
Yeah, so as long as he's healthy, he's the guy you're gonna want to target. Like so, I guess we won't know that because Scott Fish was coming up in 2 days. But it's a late round pick. It's not going to cost you either way. So if you want him, go grab him. Let's move on to the next set of guys you want to talk about, and that's the truly elite running backs. And those guys are going off the board. There's a good amount of them that go because they get pushed up. It's rounds basically 1 through 3. It kind of dies with the Tony Pollard or Mondre Stevenson. Those are kind of the last that go in that range. There's like a Breece Hall and a couple other guys. But why are you so heavily targeting those elite running backs in those first couple rounds?
So the tier 1 elite running backs like Eckler, McCaffrey, Taylor, Barkley, Robinson, Hall, Jacobs, and Henry all would outscore the tier 2 quarterbacks, the tier 1 wide receivers, and the tier 2 tight ends because Kelsey's in his own tier.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those elite running backs would outscore pretty much every other position. So, and based on my numbers, Eckler would repeat. Nowhere in history that's ever, I don't know, it's been maybe about 15 years since an RB1 has repeated as RB1.
It's been a while. I'm not exactly, I can't remember exactly who did it, but it's been a minute. Like I can't remember exactly.
I don't think Eckler will repeat, but I do have him as the RB1. But again, this range is more of a The Eckler to Henry range is more of a, hey, here's the tier list of these guys, but it's kind of up to you who's your guy.
Mhm.
If you think McCaffrey will be the RB1, I've seen him go as the first running back off the board. Okay, fine. Take McCaffrey. He'll probably get you, 28 to 32 points a game. No problem you taking him in the first round. Maybe Jonathan Taylor maybe he has a repeat of, 2021. Yeah. Maybe he's going to be that guy again. Saquon, generational talent, put up elite numbers last year. He's not too old. He's like 26 now.
Mhm.
Another one, Bijan Robinson, another generational talent coming out of Texas. He's going to be in the Atlanta Falcons offense. He's going to get used on the carries, the volume, the pass catching. I think he'll be best friends with Desmond Ritter or Taylor Heineke, whoever's, throwing the ball. Bijan will be their best friend because he's going to be the check down person. Jacobs, I worry about Jacobs, but I like him. I worry about him because the contract situation, so difficult to project that from today until September. But he does put up numbers. He does get the volume. He was getting integrated in some of the passing work last year. And then we have Derrick Henry, who we've known for a long time, gets the volume. And the dude just runs the ball really well, gets you touchdowns. I've seen it a little bit even last year. He was getting some of the pass catching work. He's not very great at catching, but I mean, he's back there. He's getting it.
Yeah, it's just like how much this scoring format helps him and Jacobs in particular because they see so many touches, right? So these guys automatically vault into that high end like tier 1 of running backs, which they may not be in PPR just because we don't know how those catches are going to go, but in this format, yeah. And they're going later, so I think it's interesting because those two seem to go the latest of this group of guys. So you could wait a little bit for those guys as opposed to taking Eckler and CMC. You have to grab them very early. And Bijan too. Like those guys are all kind of on the turn.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit devalue, but realistically, you're going to get similar point range, which highlights your point with them. I think with Travis Kelce, like we've been talking about this entire time, it's pretty evident. It's just the guy's a cheat code, and he's literally built for the scoring format. So we don't have to touch too much into it, but yeah, it's just Travis Kelce's special, and he's the biggest cheat code in the whole tournament. Like nobody gives you a better advantage than him.
Yeah, one thing I did mention though, even in the article I mentioned, was I personally am a little hesitant to take him maybe in the first round. I get it. The numbers, yes. The format favors him immensely. But he is 34 years old. Is he Tom Brady of the tight ends, or he's just going to keep putting up numbers until he just says see ya? Or is this the year that he actually just decides to take a nosedive? I don't know. I personally would rather have Mahomes, probably Hurts, those other elite tier 1 quarterbacks over Kelsey because I'm worrisome about the age. But if you're not, then whatever.
So I guess we'll phrase it this question. If you're at 104 and those top 3 quarterbacks are gone, are you going to pass on Kelsey or are you still going to take him at 104?
Well, we're still able to trade, right? In this after?
No, you can't. So there's no trading in Scott Fishbowl. You can't trade.
Oh, okay.
Makes it a little more difficult, right?
So I'd have the option between Burrow, Lamar, and I guess Fields is in there, Herbert. I mean, I guess I'd have to go with Kelsey at 104, but I'd probably lean maybe Joe Burrow, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and this more points to the aspect of Superflex and having to start. Like you could flex into someone else besides a quarterback, but let's be real, you don't really want to do that. If you have that build where you're starting people besides a quarterback in the Superflex spot, it's a little, like you did that by mistake, more or less, likely. But yeah, if you want an elite quarterback and you're at 104, totally get it. Like I'm just gonna grab Kelsey because I'll just ride that wagon until he burns me. And if he burns me this year, like so be it. But
Yeah, so maybe if you do decide to take Travis Kelce at like either ranges 101 to 105, I would just go for all upside. I would go for the all upside team, and like round 2, I would take one of the elite running backs, and then rounds 3 and 4 take some quarterbacks that have a chance to maybe finish in the top 5.
Yeah, like it gets real thin at quarterback, which me doing enough like mocks and builds, I'm leaning into that strategy a little bit. But I'm also like a team upside guy all the time. So when people ask me questions, I'm like, here's what I would do, but here's what I would recommend for people because it's a little bit different. Like, I don't know if you want to go fully like extreme upside all the time because then you're getting these picks where it's like Kadarius Toney later on, where it's like a completely just bag of mystery, right? And it's just like absolute chaos. But
Yeah.
it's a 3,300 team tournament. Like, don't be afraid to shoot your shot on this one. Like, you're more than likely not going to win. So just get the guys if you want. And if you don't want Kelsey at 104, take the elite quarterback. Heck, I saw in the London draft, Lamar went 101. So somebody was really just going for their guy straight out the gate. Yeah, right? They're just like, screw it. I'm getting him. Because like you can't trade and not get him. So if you want your guy, get it. That's what it's all about. We kind of touched on kickers a little bit already. But yeah, it's just like grab the kickers and good offenses. Because like as you said, 3.3 points for every extra point. That adds up over the course of the year. Because you have some guys that are hitting 50, 60, 70 extra points in the season, right? So that adds up.
Yeah, I think last week I did a all upside mock draft. I took Fields, and then round 2 I took Eckler. 3, I picked another running back. I think I picked Henry.
Yeah, I love Henry the Third. It's just like, that's the hardest spot for me to pass. Is like he's right there in the third. I'm like, yeah, just do it. I can't not do it.
I think round 4 I took Pitts, and in round 5 I took Geno.
You're just like, yes, let's go. Yeah, it is a lot of fun, but it's treacherous when you go that, right? You're like, oh boy, this is living on the knife's edge right here. I don't know how this is gonna go. Oh goodness. But yeah, let's flip to instead of guys you're targeting, guys you're fading. And these first 2 might seem pretty controversial to a lot of people because people love Justin Jefferson and they love Jamar Chase. But why don't you touch on these 2 and why you're fading them at cost in the tournament?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. When I was thinking about this, when I was writing the article too, people will go through the first round and go, man, Jefferson's on the board. Like, how can you not take Jefferson? Jamar Chase is on the board. Like, in all redraft formats and in dynasty formats, regular full PPR, these guys are going in the first round the entire time in every single league. But this one, the Scott Fishbowl League, I would not pick them in the first round just because they would have to have an outlier year to justify their ADP of 107 or 112. They have to have a triple crown Cooper Cup year versus the running backs that can just have a regular season and the elite tier, or the quarterbacks in the same range just have a regular year. That's why I'm fading Jefferson and Chase in the first round. I'm not saying they're bad players. I'm not saying that they can't have a Cooper Cup type season. They very well could, yes. Both of them are generational talents. They're special. 3-level, elite level wide receivers. But I don't want to chase outliers. So yeah, I'm fading Jefferson and Chase.
Yeah, I think this is the thing that people struggle with the most is how wide receiver scoring is a little bit just capped in this format compared to the other positions. And this is why when you're saying I'm fading them, it's just for this, and it's at cost. If you're getting them like the third or fourth round, it's a different story. Like that's not what we're talking about. So yeah, it actually makes sense. Like I'm totally on board with this. But when people see this, it'll catch their attention. Like, wait, what? Why would they're so good? It's like, yes, they are incredibly good. They are two of the best wide receivers in football. I think an interesting one is the next guy you have listed is Joe Mixon, because he's going to see volume, and this scoring format rewards volume. So why don't you touch on why you're fading Joe Mixon, or why you don't want him at cost, actually?
Based on my current information and me not having a crystal ball and not seeing the future, I don't know his off the field issues right now. I know he has a court date set in the next couple, I think it's next month, actually.
It's something like that, yeah.
And I think he'll get a suspension. I don't know what's going to happen. Last year, he struggled to produce. I know he had some spike weeks of getting, 40 points and then like 35, another one. That would have been absurd in this format. That dude would have just gave you like, 60, 65. Now he's getting older as well. They also drafted Chase Brown out of Illinois. He's been taking over the like RB1 work in training camp right now during OTAs because Mixon's not participating. And now I think Mixon, I'm not sure where he's going to go in the next couple of months with the NFL in his stance. And I mean, maybe at his current ADP of 512, but I would rather take a shot at a guy like Dobbins, who I know doesn't have any off the field issues, who is a elite level running back. He's coming back now. This is his first year back from his ACL injury. And we know that history says their first year, it sucks. But the year after, that's when we start to see the player that we saw before. So I think Dobbins has a bounce back year. You could probably get around the same area.
Mm-hmm.
We know that John Harbaugh loves to run the ball, and Dobbins will get the volume. And in the Scott Fish Bowl, volume and receiving upside equals cheat code.
So let's piggyback on another guy who's also dealing with a court case, and he's going a little bit later. It's Alvin Kamara. Are you fading him at cost, or because he's going in the round like 9 range? Is that something you're more open to taking a shot on?
So projections say yes, he has another chance, another opportunity to be another elite running back. But from what I've seen, I think he's fallen off. I'm also a huge Kendre Miller fan. Mm-hmm. I love me some Kendre. I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a shot in the upside on Kamara in the 9th round. But maybe you could get a more sure thing. Maybe get like who else is going around there around that time?
For Kamara, you're talking about, it's actually interesting. David Montgomery's right there. So if you want a running back you prefer, or there's like a CJ Stroud, Kenny Pickett, Dalton Schultz, James Cook, those type of guys are going in that range.
Well, again, safety. Safety says you should probably take Monty. You could take those quarterbacks. I mean, Montgomery, I think he's going to be the Jamal Williams type role. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to integrate Gibbs slowly into the offense. And I don't think Gibbs will get goal line touches his first year. I think his second year he will. I wouldn't mind taking a shot at Montgomery with what we know that he's done in the pass catching, as well as some of the goal line work and him being a bigger running back compared to Gibbs. I wouldn't mind taking a shot at Montgomery. James Cook. I mean, even Kenny Pickett. Those are more sure things. But yeah, if you want to take the upside, your team can maybe take some of the hits of taking Kamara, sure, why not? But I can't think of a way that you could build a team to offset the potential fall off if Kamara doesn't play, or he does get suspended, or he maybe doesn't put up the same numbers that we expect him to put up. I don't know if you could make a team like that in this. Maybe you can. I don't know.
I think the one thing that's going to help him out is Jamal Williams is going to take those ugly carries that Kamara was taking last year, where he was getting just the early down, just the carries that don't amount to much for fantasy points, and it was wearing him down. You saw the effect. So the thought process is hopefully this year they take some of that away, and that lets him become more of the like receiving back he's been and the cheat code he's been, because he still saw a 20% target share last year. It's just he just wasn't efficient. But yeah, it's basically 4 rounds later. And then the running backs going in that same range. It's like Cook's in a much better offense. Montgomery's in a much better offense. So if you want to chase the guy in a much better offense, you can chase those guys. So I think you can go either way with those. It just depends on your team building strategy and how you.
And you might go, well, right? Alvin, he's got Derek Carr. He's finally got a quarterback again. He hasn't had a quarterback since Drew Brees. So
right,
we're going to have Pete Kamara back. I don't know.
So I think the interesting thing that you were talking about is the wide receiver 2s, and that's basically wide receiver 13 through wide receiver 24. You don't like an ADP. So go ahead and elaborate that a little bit, because that's a whole couple rounds of like wide receivers you're just not touching an ADP.
Yeah. So the thing is, all right, we have to start 3 wide receivers, and we have 2 running backs, and we have 2 flexes.
Mm-hmm.
So guys going in wide receivers going through rounds 4 through 6. That would be like, I think, Waddle, AJ Brown, Metcalf. Like,
all those
these guys you're taking shots on, and I think they're just kind of, maybe you think they're going to be, top 5, but in the format, it's difficult to put up, wide receiver 1 numbers compared to, we look at some of the running backs going the same area that you could start, right? In rounds that you can grab in 4 through 5, fill up those flex spots. So you could take a guy like, I'm sure Dobbins is going there, and Pierce, Gibbs, Najee.
Yep.
These guys will get you, 20 to 25 for sure. And then you could target in that round 6 if you really want to get a receiver and chase the upside in like DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk. Not sure how late the other guys are going.
You're getting into like round 8 at that point.
Okay. So round 6 would be, I don't know, Evans, Christian Watson, maybe.
Yeah, Christian Watson's pushing in there. Drake London's creeping in that range. You got DeAndre Hopkins, guys like that who are kind of on the borderline of round 5, round 6.
So I'd probably load up on the running backs in 4 through 5, and then if I had to take a receiver, I would shoot for the guy with the biggest upside to give me the wide receiver 10 type numbers.
Yeah, I think I sort of did something like that last year, but I pushed it too far, where my wide receiver 1 was Rashad Bateman, and it did, as you could tell, it did not go well last year. So I like the idea of pushing out the wide receiver as far as you can with that, if you don't get the truly elite guys, right? And if you're passing on them, it's just you have to be like paying attention to your draft, because if they all go really early and often, it kind of changes how you structure that. So I would say I like this idea in general. Just if your draft is going differently, where wide receivers are getting hammered early, you're going to have to pay attention, because you're going to have to grab one at some point. Like, we have to start with 3 wide receivers, which makes it so difficult in general. So just keep that in mind. But these wide receiver 2s, they are pretty replaceable. So I'm 100% on board with that. Like, that totally makes sense. It's just, I think it's interesting because it's actually beneficial to flex running backs over wide receivers, which in most leagues, that's not something people really want to do.
Yeah,
because they don't give you
the RB or 0 RB strat. and they go wide receiver heavy, and then they target running backs late. That I probably wouldn't do that because the playoffs are so early, and you have to win week after week after week. You can't wait for your RB1s to get injured, and then your guys actually start and play. Because you're essentially leaving 40 points off the board by not taking running backs earlier and waiting till later just to get RB2 guys. Sure, they'll still get you numbers, but the wide receiver 1 and plus your RB2 could just equal just the RB1 that you could grab right next to him.
I think that's where the scoring format really comes in, and it kind of shifts how a lot of people would target their drafts. And this is where we're keep hammering this point home. It's not super beneficial for wide receivers. So if you are pushing the running backs and you are fading them, you're gonna have to hit on those guys. Like, you can't miss. This is the thing, because we're getting into the Cam Akers, we're getting in DeAndre Swifts of the world, guys with like question marks around them, or like Alexander Madison, James Conner, these guys, right? Where you start getting out of the truly elite and you're just questionable. So if you think you can get hit on them, feel free. Like, I won't tell you not to do it, but it's extremely risky in this format. I think we've kind of covered everything with the Scotch Fishbowl. Is there anything else you want to kind of touch base on the Scotch Fishbowl while we're still talking about it?
Yeah, I got questions as well. Some questions I want to ask you because you're a lot better at ADP than I am.
What you got?
So some questions I would have are, so something I thought about while I was writing this guy was the weird sections between the middle rounds and rounds 3 through like 6. Yeah, so you're picking at number 6, your team 6. You're just going right down the board. Even based on the projections and numbers, you're kind of forced to either go for floor or shoot for upside. What would you recommend to somebody that's like on team 6 and they're trying to win this thing?
So team 6 is an interesting spot because you're basically forced into taking a QB in that spot unless you want to grab a running back early. Like, or if somebody is crazy enough to grab Jefferson, like, okay, then that's a whole different strategy I don't want to touch on. But with how the build's going to structure, it's going to be whichever quarterback you want, right? So if you do say, you get Burrow or you get Lamar or whoever it is, right? And your stacking option isn't there, because stacking is kind of important in this format. But if they're gone and you see there's a ton of wide receivers right in this range, it's basically, I'm going to grab either Jacobs, or if you want to go Brees. If Henry falls, like, I'd be thrilled, but any one of those guys, or Tua would be like the QB I'm grabbing in that range. Like, I'll grab one of those guys to secure myself, because I don't expect Andrews to make it there. Like, if he did, I would be like, count my chickens and dance in the sky, right? But I'm expecting to be forced into taking one of those running backs I like. So I will have at least one quarterback, one running back, maybe two running backs, or two QBs and one running back in that structure. Now, if you want the tight end, you could go tight end. It's just you're reaching a little bit for tight ends, because it's like Hawkinson, you can get Kittle, Pitts, like those guys in round 4, possibly. So I think this is where ADP kind of comes in, where I don't want to reach for a tight end if I can get them a little bit later. So yeah, I would go Jacobs. Like, that's going to be kind of the pick I would take realistically. You could go Brees if you want him, if you want somebody who's going to come on strong at the end of the year, or if you're really big into Ramondre and his target share and catching. Like, those would be the 3 running backs I would target in that range. Now, if you're the other set would be the wide receivers. If you're really confident Adams or St. Brown or whoever it is, that wide receiver, or if Diggs falls, like, they're going to be a high-end wide receiver, I wouldn't be against taking a wide receiver there. But it's got to be a certain set of wide receivers. So it's not going to be guys that fall outside the top 6 for me. So if I see Waddle, I'm going to pass. Or if I see, Garrett Wilson, I'm going to pass. Amon-Ra could be a little bit tempting. But yeah, I'd say depending on how the draft goes, that's usually going to be my answer. But it'll be QB or running back probably 90% of the time.
All right, and one more question. So in the guide, I mentioned targeting running backs late, like super late, like rounds like 18 or like 22.
Oh, you're talking deep. Okay, yeah.
What? Again, I mean, we have the numbers and we have our own opinions. Who are some running backs or any player, honestly, that you would target from rounds 18 to 22?
So the guy who, like, because it depends on drafts, but the guy who I've seen basically just not getting drafted, and I've been getting him in like the 20th or 22nd, is Malik Davis with the Cowboys. Like, I like taking a shot on him there. Now they could sign Zeke, and that could kill Malik, and then you'd be like, well, I wasted the pick. But there's a ton of like carries and work available for whoever is the RB2. So if you hit on Malik Davis at that spot, like that's somebody that's actually going to be in your lineup and playing. So the whole thought process is I would grab him. Or realistically, anybody I could see stepping into a significant role. Now that's not going to be like Jalen Warren because he's gone. We're talking like when there. I think Pierre Strong, this guy down here, is actually another good one to target because he could be the RB2 in New England. And those guys do see work. So I know Ramondre was there last year, but it's not 100%. I'm not 100% convinced he gets that. So he would be another guy to target. And then you're really just talking about dart throw guys like Tucker, if you really want the RB2 there, or you could get Zach Evans. Like you could shoot a shot at him with the Rams in case an injury happens. But I'm looking for guys who are an injury away. So if you want to like pick whichever backfield that's not someone going in the top 150, and it's a good offense, shoot your shot on those guys. Because you would be surprised who hits from the running back slate. Like there's always a couple of guys you could find. But those would be a few of the ones that I'm going to like try to grab if I can get them. Because like right here, Malik Davis is 256. He's like the last round pick. So, I'm totally fine throwing a dart on him and seeing what shakes out. Let's see.
Yeah.
And I'm not really seeing anybody. Yeah, like you could like there's like Evan Holes and stuff like that. But I mean, you need an injury. JT's not giving up that work. So you definitely need an injury with some of these guys. So some of the running backs, like target a running back who's not necessarily straight like an elite bill cow. Like Tajay Spears is going too early. He's a fun one. But like you need specifically an injury to happen to Derrick Henry, right? There's only, with certain guys, there's only like one out. You want a guy with multiple outs. So I guess we'll go about it.
Yeah, like with Roshan, he's going earlier. Yeah, I'm a big Pierre Strong fan.
Yeah, like it's so cheap at that point. It's like, why not? I'm actually kind of curious. Where is Clyde? Yeah, like you could around 18, you could take a shot at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I know it's gross, but that backfield is wide open still. I'm not a huge believer of Pacheco. So like round 18, it's whatever, right? You just take a shot, and if it doesn't hit, it's not going to kill you. So
Pacheco
like
could also get injured as well. You gotta.
Yes, there's outs for these guys, right? Yeah. So it's just basically just pick whoever you like in those late round guys. It doesn't matter. You just want somebody who you can find to play. So there's lots of good offenses. You could, target Seattle offense. Maybe you think the guy out of Georgia, the pass catching back, who I'm blanking on his name. I think it's Mitchell. Maybe he sees some work there. Like there's just all these different guys you can shoot your shot on.
Yeah, the interesting one. I think Zach Evans is an interesting one.
Yeah, right? It's a wide open backfield. It's just you got Kyron, or not Kyron, sorry, you have Cam Akers, but outside of that, it's like, who else do they have? They have Kyron, but he's just a small, slow day 3 pick, so you could easily wear that work.
He's slower than Evans, but he's also a better pass catcher. It's like Evans is like the right middle between Akers and Williams.
Yeah, he's the Debbie Darling that did not pan out for whatever. He's a pretty efficient runner, but like he has holes in his game, so he's never going to be an elite asset or anything like that. But maybe Akers gets hurt, and then that's how you see him get volume. So there's definitely a shot, and that offense could theoretically be a lot better than everybody expects. If Stafford's healthy, if Kupp's healthy, they could be functional, and if that's the case, then that's how you get a late round flyer that works out for you.
One other question that came up when I was I don't know the answer to this, and I don't expect you or anybody else to know, but I'm just curious. Who do you think wins the RB2 spot in Tampa Bay?
It's tough. Chase, I was on the Chase Edmonds train last year, but he was such a disaster, and he was moved on from multiple teams last year, so I don't have much hope for him. But at the same point, Sean Tucker with his medical injuries and his history, like I'm not really into him either. It's a flyer in Dynasty. It's fine. I'll expect Chase Edmonds because he's actually been good at some point in his career. Like I would bet on him, but it's not a strong bet. It's like a 60-40% type bet where maybe Edmonds earns the work, or Tampa Bay sees what they like out of Tucker, and they're like, you know what, we'll just take Tucker and seal Edmonds. So
What about Keyshawn?
yeah, he's just that's a bust pick. That's just been brewing for years there. He just can't ever get on the field. Like I don't. Yeah, I've given up hope on him. I think the ship has sailed. I think it started when he basically refused Tom Brady for workouts a couple years ago. He's like, no, I'm not going. And then, no surprise, you didn't see him play at all. Tom Brady's like, all right, cool. You don't want to come work out? See you later. And it's just, yeah.
Or when everybody else got injured, he finally got to play, but like they hated it. They're like, get him out. Get
Yeah.
him
And you got
out.
it's like Bruce Arians. He's not fun to deal with for that. So yeah, it did not. Unfortunately, he's one of the bigger busts we've seen in the past few years for rookie drafts. But that happens. There's always those guys. Him and Jalen Reagor hanging out together. It's like, sheesh, tough break for those guys. But what are you gonna do? Oh,
Man, he could be relevant.
yeah. You never. I mean, if you believe, you know what I'm saying. Take that 22nd round pick and bet it on it and see what happens. Right. It's like at that point, we're talking almost 300 picks here. So it's like there's plenty of guys to take a shot on. That's what makes it great, is because it's so much deeper than your traditional 12 team where it's like 15 rounds. We're adding an extra 7 rounds here. There's guys that nobody's drafting. It's like, yeah, Tucker Kraft's getting drafted. He's the second tight end that got drafted in Green Bay this year. Like guys like that, you would. And you're seeing Shoemaker's getting drafted. He's not getting drafted in traditional 12 team leagues. So I find that stuff really interesting. But why don't you tell everybody? I think we're gonna wrap it up. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, where any new content you're going on? Just basically just promote yourself.
All right, so I'm primarily on Twitter, and you can find me on Twitter at DynastyBuffs. I've been doing YouTube videos. Also DynastyBuffs on YouTube, DynastyBuffs everywhere. But I'll be writing my articles at Dynasty Pros. Freelancing right now at Dynasty Pros. I finally got my draft guide up. I primarily focus mainly on Devi and Dynasty content, but I can also do fantasy content as well. As we approach the 2023 season, I'll do updated projections just for fantasy and redraft, and I'll be doing dynasty rankings. But I primarily put out content related to college. Right now, I'm working on a article at Dynasty Pros again on Blake Corum and the 2024 running back class. I also do draft capital projections. I put them out last year, and I did a couple YouTube videos on them. You guys can go look at my page and check those out if you want. And as we approach the college season, I'll be doing quarterback guides as well as just analysis on the 2023 quarterback class or 2024 quarterback class, excuse me. So right now I'm also working on one for Drake May and doing one on Caleb Williams. But a guy this is probably a hot take, maybe. I actually like the quarterback from Michigan. I think JJ McCarthy is actually kind of slept on. And he could go in the first round. Maybe.
So I'm in a group chat with a lot of Michigan guys, and a couple of them are pretty big on him too. I'm like, because I got him in Seattle area, so people are really into Michael Penix. Like they're like, oh, he could be great. I'm like, yeah, he's got multiple injuries. Like he's old, but whatever. But yeah, so I think that's actually an interesting name to bring up, particularly for Devi. Like, Devi's fun. I know it's not for everybody, but it's just a fun format. And then you you know all the players like we're talking about, and then next year it's like you have a leg up. So I think all that information is really helpful to people, in particular Dynasty people, because it's like, hey, guess what? You get to know who's coming in. So yeah. Why don't you also drop what is your YouTube page so people know where to find it? Like, what's it called?
Just DynastyBuffs.
Perfect.
That's my at.
Awesome.
Easy. Find me everywhere.
Yep. So make sure go subscribe to him on YouTube. Go to DynastyBuffs Twitter, like stuff. You can find his content, Dynasty Pros everywhere. So yeah. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming on to this episode, and yeah, it was a pleasure having you on, man.
It's finally good to meet you, Jesse. Thank you for inviting me today and let me use your platform here and reach your audience. And thank you also for promoting my draft guide.
Of course. Man.
Thank you for giving it a read, and thank you for giving me a shout out.
No problem.
It's finally good to see you. Hopefully we can do more in the future. I'd love to do, maybe you and I could team up again and do a commentary on some of the live drafts that are going on and some of the slow drafts. Maybe we could do an update, say so-and-so took this guy, so-and-so took this guy. I like that, I didn't like that.
Yeah, we can. I mean, I will probably do some live stuff on my draft, so we can totally just crap on my league mates if you really want to do that, or we could, just talk about how good they are and promote them up. But we could have some fun with that. I think it would be a lot of fun to just dive in, and like I'm a fancy junkie, so I love that stuff. But yeah, so yeah,
you're the best. Everybody that's watching, Jesse's really good. I really respect Jesse's work as well. He does a great job, puts great quality content out, puts it out with his chest, does what he says. Matters.
We're not afraid to jump in and do it. Like if I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna do it. This obviously cuts into family time and stuff sometimes, where it's like last night I was up till 3:30 in the morning doing stuff, but that's life. That's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I did want to say thank you once again for coming in. But we're gonna wrap it up. So thank you all for coming in, and we will see you later on this week. Maybe we'll do some more collaborations. So take care, folks.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.